Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first edition of my weekly NFL recap series here on the Chase Oliver 68 channel. I'll be going live every Tuesday to talk about all the happenings of week one of the NFL or all the interesting stuff that has happened in the 2022 season, week one of the NFL. But I'm not alone here. I have my good friend, the resident Kirk Cousins defender himself, Anthony Genelin. Anthony, how's it going, my friend?
It's great, Chase. I didn't pull out the Cousins jersey today. I think we got to pick a great game for it. And while he did well, no interceptions, unlike some quarterbacks in
Oh,
this
wow.
league. We'll save it for maybe a 3-touchdown game.
a three touchdown game. Okay. He should have had more in that game for sure. But I have Anthony Genelin here. You'll see Anthony and you'll see a bunch of other people. I'll invite people on when they're free. If you guys are watching us live on the Chase Oliver 68 YouTube channel and you're going to give your thoughts about anything that happened in NFL, this is an interactive show. We will read your comments after we're done with certain topics. But if you want your topic to be talked about right away, super chats are the best way to do so. Just hit the super chat. There's no donation limit. And just a super chat could be $1, could be $2, could be $3. Any donation, we'll read your super chat and we'll discuss that topic as we go along. And if you do have any questions, just leave them down in the comment section or leave them as we go live. This will also be on playbacks. I'll be also cutting up a lot of these into segments that will be uploaded on my YouTube channel. And also the audio will be available on Spotify the next day or the night. Just depends when I get to editing. But Anthony, week one has happened. Did you enjoy the first week of football?
Well, as a Vikings fan, seeing the Packers lose to the Vikings, there's really no better way to start the season than that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Of course, we had some prizes. Again, as a Vikings fan, that was a pleasant surprise. I try not to get my hopes up with the Vikings, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Hey man, as a Chargers fan, it was just another Sunday. You know, we look good for 3 quarters, and then that fourth quarter, I'm like biting my teeth. But we'll get to that. But you know which fan base did not bite their teeth, Anthony, this weekend? The Bills and the Chiefs fans, because man, those Buffalo Bills and those Kansas City Chiefs, why are we doubting them? These were the two teams that were favorited in the AFC, especially when it comes to the Buffalo Bills. Before I ask the question, Anthony, I've just got to tell you what these two teams did. First off, we got the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, shaky first half, did not look the greatest, but guess what happened? Second half against the Los Angeles Rams, against the defending Super Bowl champions, Josh Allen came in and routed the Los Angeles Rams, just made this team not even look like a Super Bowl champion. I mean, the best thing that this team could do was throw it to Cooper Kupp. That was their best offense, was throwing it to Cooper Kupp. But man, the guy that got doubted the most is the man on the screen right now, number 15, Patrick Mahomes. Anthony, we were saying, what's he going to do without Tyreek Hill? Tyreek Hill got traded. Travis Kelce can't get separation. Kermit decided to throw us 5 touchdowns, throw it to 9 different receivers, 0 interceptions. And these were against quality teams. They were going against the NFC West. They were going against the Rams. They were going against the Cardinals. People were saying, oh, this is the best division in the NFC West. And these two teams went out and dominated. And so, Anthony, Bills and Chiefs, do you agree with my statement? They are currently not just the best teams in the AFC, but the best teams in the NFL.
Well, the NFL, yeah, it's pretty easy. I don't think there's a lot of great teams right now in the NFC. But you look at the AFC, yeah, I think they're clearly a step ahead of the competition. I think above all, what the Bills were able to do the first game of the season on the road too. I mean, that was super impressive. I've been a big Josh Allen fan. He was my number 1 QB in that draft. And I mean, he's definitely proven himself. Stephon Diggs, I love to see him do well with Buffalo. I can't believe he's already in year 8. They said year 8. That I can't believe he's been in that long. But like the Bills are, and they lost Brian Dabble, who was I was, he was on my short list of the next Vikings head coach. I think he's a brilliant offensive mind, and the Giants just won, I think, in large part because of it. So even despite losing that, the Bills were able to still dominate. I think they're slightly ahead of the Chiefs, but Patrick Mahomes, I think he's clearly the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
I don't want to say who's MVP right now, but man, he's put himself pretty far ahead in terms of that race.
Listen, if you guys gamble, just put Pat Mahomes money line to win the MVP. I mean, do it now before he becomes a favorite, because I think he was entering this year as like fourth or fifth best odds to win MVP. And like I said, this guy was doubted the most. But Anthony, is there someone else, as a good old friend, Sean's View Entertainment? Haven't seen this man in a while. Said in the comments, Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. Is there anyone else in the field? Is there anyone else? Because granted, yes, the Chiefs and the Bills probably had the most impressive wins, but was there a team that you saw where you're like, even though they had a close win or the game wasn't that impressive, that you said, you know what, Chase, I still think they're in the same level as Buffalo and the Chiefs? Sean's View said Tampa Bay, they had a big win over the Dallas Cowboys. I think we could probably put them in that category, but is there anyone else for you?
Well, I will say that mainly because they were my Super Bowl pick coming into the season. I'm a big Tom Brady fan. Age 45 season for him now. He officially is the oldest starting quarterback ever in NFL history. It's hard for me to doubt Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. I think at bare minimum, this is a playoff team, especially looking at what the rest of their division is like, and frankly, the NFC as a whole. I think they have a pretty, if the Rams are going to play like they did week one, they have a pretty open path to the Super Bowl. And I mean, the Packers struggled, the Rams struggled. Those were two of the top teams last year. So if you put those two teams out, I mean, who's left for to be in the way for Tom Brady and the Buccaneers? I think the Buccaneers have a very good shot at getting the Super Bowl, and Tom Brady's 7-3 in the Super Bowl. Why should we doubt him now?
Yeah, that's true. And that's what makes Tampa Bay kind of like one of those teams that, even though they might struggle, they might get caught up in New Orleans. Brady still has not beat those darn New Orleans Saints since moving to Tampa. But I'm gonna go with my team, Anthony. I think the Los Angeles Superchargers are part of that who else category. I really like what I saw from the offense. Justin Herbert looked good in the first half against the rival Raiders. I felt the Chargers went conservative with the play calling near the end. And then also the defense of the Chargers. Oh man, like great rushing defense. Khalil Mack was as advertised at 3 sacks, 3 tackles for a loss, 1 forced fumble, minus TJ Watt. Khalil Mack, I felt, was the best defensive player I was watching on that football field this past Sunday. So I'm going to go with my Chargers. And I also always put more weight into divisional games. I think, especially week one, your team is tight. Your team is looking to show up. Well, technically for the Chargers, it's more like a road game because there was like a lot of Raider fans. But you're showing up at home. You gotta perform. I always say divisional games are not easy, and I hate when NFL throws teams in divisional games week one, because one, it already sets you back a little bit when it comes to your conference standings, and then two, it's a tougher game. These teams know you better than anyone else. They know your personnel. You play them twice a year. But that leads to the question, Anthony, of should we be worried? There was 2 teams that were coming in this season that were kind of Super Bowl favorites. People were kind of betting them. And should we be worried, Anthony, about the Cincinnati Bengals? Not a great start for the AFC champions, the defending and reigning AFC champions. Joe Burrow, 4 interceptions, 5 turnovers total. Now, he made that up. He played well in the second half, got 2 touchdowns, threw a bunch of yards. But at the end of the day, they went to the hole. That offensive line, Anthony, the Bengals spent how much money on that offensive line? What happened? Joe Burrow got sacked 6 times. This is with Alex Kappa. This is with La'el Collins. The defense for the Bengals did stand up, but then again, we got to look at who they were playing at quarterback. They were playing against Mitchell Trubisky. Are we going to really bank on the fact that the Bengals defense did well against Mitchell Trubisky and also against that Steelers offensive line that's not really all that good? I mean, I'm sorry. I feel like we have to be worried about the Cincinnati Bengals, but I want your take first.
So I don't think I'm selling my Bengals stock yet. I think I still see a bright future for them. Maybe not, they went to the Super Bowl last year. Probably not that, especially with how looking at the Bills and the Chiefs are doing, even though it's week one. The word, Joe Burrows, he's going to throw it however much he needs to throw it. And, they had -5 in the turnover rankings during the game, and they almost tied it. And if they made an extra point at the end of the game, they would have won it. So a lot of things happen that should hopefully not normally happen. If they're going to keep playing like that, then yeah, this is going to be a lost season for the Bengals. But and I'm not the biggest Zach Taylor fan, but I think despite that, like I think I'm not going to sell the stock. I think I had them winning the division. I think I'm going to still keep it that way. I think they still are the team to beat in that division, despite starting out 0-1 and losing to a division rival.
I felt Zach Taylor is the reason why they lost this game. I'm not really blaming Joe Burrow. I'm not really blaming the defense. I'm not really blaming their kicker. Zach Taylor, I felt, coached a horrible game. Like, Jamar Chase had a touchdown early in the game, and later in the game, but earlier before Jamar Chase scored the supposed game-winning touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even challenge it. He didn't even try to challenge it. It's like, bro, you're a Super Bowl head coach. You should be challenging plays, even if you know it's not going to go through. You need all the points you can get. Right now, you're struggling against this Pittsburgh team. And let's be real, Pittsburgh, they didn't make too many changes on their defense. I mean, they added Miles Jack. They added a couple of rotational guys to that defense, but they didn't make too many changes. Like I'm sitting here and I was watching the game and I just was dumbfounded of how bad the Bengals looked, because I felt the Bengals were going to rout the Pittsburgh Steelers. I felt this was going to be a shellacking like no other, and they just ended up disappointing. But you know who also disappointed, Anthony, to your smile? Our good friend from State Farm. I don't even think State Farm had insurance for this one. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. I mean, let's just be real. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers are one of those teams that you can just kind of trust. I always say, always bet on Rodgers. And what I mean is, always bet on the Green Bay money line. Always bet that Green Bay is going to cover, because they just do that. It's easy money. It's free money betting on Aaron Rodgers. And this weekend, it was like last year, where the Green Bay Packers just did not look like they knew how to operate on this football field. So my question is, Anthony, are you concerned about the Green Bay Packers?
Well, I'll never be concerned about them. I really hope they do poor every year. But that said, I think there's some concern, mainly because, I think Devontae Adams being gone is a bigger worry than any of us ever thought. And I think already people are kind of like, how's it going to be without, Rodgers? They've said for years how he doesn't trust, if a receiver messes up, he won't trust him. And I think there's some merit to that, especially he's got some young receivers, not a lot of experience there. And while, most rookie receivers start getting it going as the season goes on, I think that'll probably be the case. But unfortunately, with not really any good receivers in that receiving room, might be too little too late when it comes to the season. A year or two from now, especially if Rodgers is still there, different story. But, this could be a lost season pretty quickly, especially with the Bears beating the Niners, Lions playing close to the Eagles. It's a little bit of a harder division than it's been the last few years in the NFC North, and the Packers might find their way outside of the playoffs.
If you're the Lions and the Bears, this is the time that you want to attack. I understand Bears fans are thinking about tanking and getting the next big defensive stud. No, you should attack. You have a young rookie quarterback. Build around it. Build a winning culture around him. Same with the Detroit Lions. You should attack. Screw whatever ideas you have. Look, there's going to be a rookie quarterback that falls to you. It's fine. Don't worry about it. The thing is this. I was concerned with Aaron Rodgers for sure watching the game. But you know what shocked me the most, Anthony? That Packers defense was terrible. And that's what shocked me the most. Not really look, it's going to take a while for Aaron Rodgers to find a receiver he likes. It's going to take a while for that running game with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon to start going. They have a really good offensive line, and, they're going to click. But that defense, has a pretty underrated front seven, has one of my favorite DBs in the league, and Jair Alexander, and they just looked defenseless against the Minnesota Vikings. And that's, to me, was a bigger concern than Rodgers. Like, I get it. We always focus on the quarterbacks. That's like the cool thing to do. But to me, I'm looking at that defense, and I'm like, man, dude, I know Kirk Cousins does play well against the Packers normally, but that was when you were watching that opening drive and you were just seeing Kirk and Justin Jefferson look like Stafford and Cooper Kupp. It just looked, I was just like, what is going on here? What are the Packers defense doing, especially with the talent that they have? I mean, we know the talent that they have on defense. Sure, they lost some people. They let Zadarius Smith walk this offseason, but still, That's a talented Packers defense that just didn't look anything like what they should be playing at. So I say we should be worried about the Packers this year because, like you said, the Bears and the Lions are better. I mean, the Chicago Bears went into the Toronto Tributes and they defeated the 49ers, and it felt like the 49ers should have shellacked them. And then the Detroit Lions, they did what they normally do, play down and then play up and then play down. But hey, against the Philadelphia Eagles, that's probably the best team that you want to play down or play up to, too, because Anthony, we might have some new NFC favorites. I know you were talking about your Buccaneers and your Rams, but Anthony, I feel like you got to give props to your team. I think the Minnesota Vikings are a favorite this year. I don't think it's out of the realm of the possibility that the Vikings could represent the NFC this year in the Super Bowl. I look at their schedule. It's a favorable schedule. I look at the talent. It's a great, talented roster. I look at the coaching history. Another person from the I get it. People are going to say technically it's the Mike Shanahan coaching tree, but I'm going to say the Sean McVay coaching tree. Another person from the Sean McVay coaching tree, and they have a good representation lately of making it to the Super Bowl. I look at your defense, which I felt, underrated performance by your defense. You guys got the quarterbacks. You got a lot of strong veterans, Harrison Smith, Patrick Peterson. You guys got Danielle Hunter back, which I felt you guys were missing last year. He went down with injury. You have Danielle Hunter back, and Eric Kendricks is another really good linebacker, probably one of the most underrated players in the NFL. I look at your team, Anthony, and I think, hey, this is an underrated team here. This is a team that can represent the NFC. Do you feel like the road can go through Minnesota? Do you feel good about your Vikings? Is this just a week one overreaction?
As a Vikings fan, some people like being biased about their team. I don't like to give them too much credit, but I think they could be. I think this offensive line, I think it's probably the best offensive line the Vikings have had since AP went for 2,000 10 years ago. Now that Mike Zimmer's gone, you don't see. I saw during the game, when the Vikings would take a lead like they did. Second half, they kind of, just rely on the running game. Don't make any too crazy passes, but they just kept going at it. I think now that they finally have a coach that's not just going to run it a lot of the time. Dalvin's a great running back, but you have arguably the best wide receiver in the league, Justin Jefferson, on the team. And, Kirk Cousins he had more receiving yards in that one game than he's had in any single game in his first 2 years. I think it really showed this offense, Kirk Cousins, I'm a big fan. I think most people would say he's at least a borderline top 10 quarterback. And I think with this new coach, I think Kevin O'Connell can really make Kirk Cousins a good quarterback, and Ed Dontel and the defense a lot better than I thought it would be. I mean, a lot of these pieces are the same as last year. It's just a new coach, and it's a lot better. If they play like they did week one, I mean, they definitely deserve to be in the conversation for a team to beat in the NFC.
And like I said, that Sean McVay coaching tree, or Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, whoever you want to give credit to that coaching tree, started where? In Washington. Where did Kirk Cousins start? Washington. So there's a lot of connection there. And I really do think, Cousins, I think, is very I know how you feel about Kirk Cousins. You love him. I feel he's sometimes underappreciated, but I wouldn't put him super high on the list of top 10 quarterbacks. He's 10. He can rotate out 10 through 12. It just depends how those 10 through 12 play with each other and stuff like that. So that's how I feel about Kirk Cousins. But maybe he can get the job done. But there's another team, Anthony, I want to throw out there who I think is an NFC favorite. Anthony, what do you think about those Philadelphia Eagles? I mean, I was going through my NFL breakdowns earlier this season, and I said to myself, man, I just don't know if there's any team that's I just don't know if there's any team that stands out in the NFC East. And then I looked at the Eagles. I looked at the roster. I saw that they traded for Gardner Johnson, the strong safety from New Orleans. I remember they picked up James Bradbury. I was looking at that defense, and I said, wow, that's a pretty solid defense. They picked up a former Charger and Kaiser White, who I liked a lot, very good coverage linebacker. And then I looked at their offense, and I said, man, this offense with A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, the tight end, Dallas Goedert, you got Jalen Hurts at quarterback. This team right here could be a favorite in the NFC. And Anthony, I just got to ask, do you agree with me? Do you feel the Eagles could be a favorite in the NFC? Especially, you got to look at their division. They're in the easiest division when it comes to football. And you know what it's like, Anthony. You remember, let's go back. I know you don't want to remember this, but remember back in the day, a few years ago, it was in Philadelphia, Vikings versus Philadelphia and the NFC Championship. There's one team that's hard to beat if you get them in the playoffs in January. And I think it's the Eagles because they're like, I was looking at all the teams too, and I'm a big weather guy. I believe weather does matter, especially in the NFC. I was looking at all the teams that are making the playoffs. I'm like, they play in the dome, they play in the dome, they play inside, they play inside. Eagles still play outside. They're still old school football. You put them as the first seed, which I think is possible for them to get, and teams have to travel to Philadelphia. I think that matters. But Anthony, I want to hear your thoughts. I'm hyping up the Eagles, but I think with good reason.
I mean, I think they have, especially with Dak out, that was their biggest competition right there. They should easily beat the Cowboys while Dak's away, and they'll probably drop a few games. I mean, they already dropped week 1, but beyond that, they should drop games. That's their biggest worry. The Giants pulled off the surprise win, but I'm not expecting a ton from the Giants this year. And, Carson Wentz, I'm not the biggest fan of. So with that in mind, the other 3 teams really shouldn't be too much competition. It's the Eagles division to lose, and I don't think that'll happen. So, I mean, that alone puts them with at least one home game in the playoffs. The NFC is weaker. I feel like this is a team that, you throw this team in the AFC, no way they're a Super Bowl favorite. Put them in the NFC though, which they are, maybe, I don't think I'm going to buy the stock that they're a Super Bowl contender just yet, but winning the division definitely puts you in that conversation at least.
I know a lot of people will look at Jalen Hurts and they'll say, oh, well, look at that playoff game against Tampa Bay, Chase. I know, I get it. I understand. Jalen Hurts is one of those quarterbacks, though, that's annoying to play against in the playoffs. And now you add going to Philadelphia to the mix, which I think they can easily lock up the first seed, looking at that NFC East and looking at that schedule. I really do feel like this is the Eagles' conference to lose, in my personal. And you can mark me down on this, Anthony. If I'm wrong, if the Eagles don't even make the playoffs, I'll eat crow. I'll eat crow on that one. I'll eat an eagle. Oh, well, that's banned. But I'll eat crow. I'll eat crow for sure. I'll eat crow on that one. But someone that probably is not going to be eating a lot lately, he'll probably need help being fed, is Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, Dallas Cowboys star quarterback, man of many commercials. Injured his hand against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it was not in a pretty game. The Cowboys just got absolutely shellacked by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Dak just couldn't get any separation. CeeDee Lamb couldn't get any separation. The only time he got separation was when he got a pass interference going on, and when he pushed that poor little cornerback down from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I got to say, Anthony, how concerned were you with not just Dak's play, but with the injury? And do you feel like that this is going to be a recurring theme for the rest of the season, or do you feel like he'll be fine and come back and do Dak Prescott type things?
I've always been a big Dak fan. I think when he comes, he did have a rough game. Buccaneers still have a good defense, though. Let's not act like they were playing against a bad team. They were playing against a pretty good team in the Buccaneers. So I'm not going to worry too much. I mean, you definitely have to worry about the injuries. I mean, he's going to have to win most of the games when he comes back because they're going to drop a decent amount of the games while he's gone. So I think the Cowboys are probably looking outside of the playoffs this year. I hope this isn't going to be a reoccurring problem for Dak, but who knows? Who knows? I'm a little bit worried. He's about to be 30. He'll be 30 next year. And while quarterbacks, you probably still have at least 5, if not 10 years left. This could start to slow down Dak's playing time, which I'd hate to see.
Dak Prescott just looked absolutely horrendous in this game. And the one thing about Dak that I liked earlier on in his career is that he was a fearless rusher. Like he was fearless with rushing the football. And now he doesn't really do that. And now what I know is too, he doesn't really use his legs to make the plays like he used to. he kind of has become like a lame pocket passing quarterback, which is not Dak Prescott's strength. You want to use all the athleticism this guy has. And I just feel that the Cowboys were penny pinching way too much and just didn't do a good job at keeping the receiver. I mean, trading away Amari Cooper for scraps is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we saw Cooper can still play some great football. Why would you trade him away? And I felt that they're putting too much. Like, look, does CeeDee Lamb have all the talent in the world to become a number one receiver in the NFL? Absolutely. I do think he does. But is he that now? No. You're pretty much banking on a prospect to blow up out of nowhere. And he didn't show anything last year where you're like, yep, that's going to be our guy. CeeDee Lamb, trade Cooper. Like, I understand if CeeDee Lamb was that guy, but he wasn't that guy last year. And it's showing it with it showed in that game. And hopefully Dak can bounce back because he's a good quarterback to watch. He's fun, good fantasy quarterback overall. Anthony, we got to talk about a quarterback though that just didn't show up. I think he's stuck in ice. Is Matty Ice Frozen, Anthony? So, as you guys know, Matt Ryan no longer an Atlanta Falcon. He is now donning the Indianapolis Colts color. This is third time the charm for quarterbacks for the Indianapolis Colts. They don't want to draft one. They said, after Jacoby Brissett, let's get good old Phillip Rivers involved. And Phillip Rivers, he did well, made the playoffs, and they lost in the first round, which was a really talented Colts team too, and they had a chance. And I was kind of upset too because I would have loved to see my boy Phil go out on top, but it's okay. And then they brought in Carson Wentz. Hey, why draft a quarterback? We'll trade for Carson Wentz. We believe in Carson Wentz too. Frank Reich? What did Frank Reich do, Anthony? He used to coach Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is fine. We will take this terrible contract. We will believe in him as our quarterback, and it didn't work out. And so they shipped Carson Wentz to Washington. And you know what they decided to do? They grabbed Matt Ryan. And this was supposed to be their sexy move. It felt like, this is their Matthew Stafford move. Yeah, Matt Ryan, he's not going to make you go, oh my God, that's crazy they got him. But for a team like the Colts, you would say to yourself, and you compare them, like, look at the Rams and the Colts, very comparable what they had, except switch the receivers with a great running back core. So you thought this was good for the Colts. That defense, Matt Ryan, it's going to be fun. No, Matt Ryan looked atrocious. Didn't look good at all. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 245 yards. Didn't look good at all. Didn't really use his number one target, Michael Pittman, all that. Well, Michael Pittman got stats, but what I'm saying is didn't use him to his most of abilities. Jonathan Taylor literally had to still carry the team on his back. He had like 162 rushing yards. Anthony, do you believe in the Colts and Matt Ryan?
Well, I mean, Colts, I guess. I mean, Titans lost week 1. That was a surprise. I mean, Colts tied with the Texans, but I mean, it's a weak division, so they could do it, especially just off the back of Jonathan Taylor. But I sold my Matt Ryan stock a while ago. I don't know why they thought they would give up a 3rd-round draft pick for him and expect much to happen. His best days are well behind him. They'll probably be in the offseason looking for yet another quarterback, probably trade, bring Ryan Fitzpatrick out of retirement. I don't know, but I'm not expecting much.
If Matt Ryan doesn't work, and we all know that this quarterback class coming up with Stroud and Bryce Young, pretty exciting young core, or do the Colts say, screw drafting another one, we'll take like a defensive stud in the first round? Who are they most likely to go after? If Tua doesn't work out, would the Colts trade for Tua Tagovailoa?
I mean, they've been trading or signing guys the last few years. Why not do it again, right?
But I'm asking, would they do it for Tua? Do you think they would do it for Tua?
Yeah, I mean, the last 3 off seasons they went out and got a guy, whether it's free agency or trade. So they seem to rather do that than draft a quarterback. They must be afraid. They must be hoping that by getting a guy who was good at one time, that will give them a little bit of leeway when it comes to their job security. And Tua, while he wasn't good at one time, really, he is young. So at least there's maybe we'll turn him into a franchise guy. Maybe he just needs another situation. So yeah, I feel like they're probably more likely to do that, especially because they probably won't be picking top 10 in the draft.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, guys. Tua Tagovailoa, future Indianapolis Colts. Oh, you know what? Maybe they'll take. No, I don't see that. I don't see a divisional rival trade because Tannehill would be the perfect successor to Matt Ryan. Like Ryan just disappoints. you just get Ryan Tannehill. It's like, well, screw it. Let's keep going. I love this little QB carousel that they're doing. They're just like, they don't want to commit to any quarterback. They just keep trading for these veteran quarterbacks that were good at one point, and hopefully they'll strike lightning in the bottle. But Anthony, we're going to play a game to end off this show. By the way, if you guys have any comments, please leave them on and we'll read your comments. Keep them NFL related, please, because that's what we're going to be talking about here. If they're not NFL related, I'm sorry. Maybe next stream you guys will talk. You guys can ask me some questions. But we're going to play solid starter or nah. Now, if you say nah, Anthony, that doesn't mean it's negative. Does not mean, oh no,
Okay.
these guys are bad. That means you believe that this quarterback is not just a solid starter. He could actually improve. He's actually going to be better than what you think. So I got 4 guys for you. 4 guys that I like a lot. Well, I don't like them a lot. I just chose these 4 guys. But I got 4 guys that I feel fit this description. And we're going to start with the man. He's in the thumbnail. He won. He upsetted the homecoming for Russell Wilson, former Charger legend, former Jets legend, Geno Smith. Anthony, is Geno Smith a solid starter or not?
Nah, I mean, like when we're talking about starting quarterbacks in the league, there's got to be 32. Best case, he's like mid-20s. Like he's probably low 20s or even 30s. I mean, which is good. He hasn't started in 8 years. Week 1, the fact he can do that, but nah, not a solid starter.
I'm with you. I mean, Geno Smith, he does this, man. He shows these little flashes. Remember when Russell Wilson went out last year too, and fans were excited, like, oh no, we're fine. We got Geno, because he showed flashes in that one game. This is what he does. This is what Geno Smith does. He shows these little flashes. You get excited. You see the athleticism. He had a great comeback of, oh, the league wrote me off, but I didn't write back. It's like, oh wow, this guy has all the confidence, all the money, and then he might get better. And also, his leash is not as long. I mean, he has a short leash. I mean, Drew Lock is back there ready to tug on it. I know Drew Lock, man. Drew Lock likes to tug on those leashes and pull people back. Now, the next quarterback, Anthony, actually faced off against Matt Ryan, who we were pretty harsh on. Davis Mills from the Texans. Now, Mills, shocking rookie year last year, came in and played very well under the circumstances and the team that he had. And then this year, shocked us again. I mean, Davis Mills is just a really, really solid quarterback. And for me, Anthony, I'm going to jump the gun here. I'm going to call him a solid starter. I think if you had Davis Mills as your quarterback, you're not upset. You're not like, oh man, we can win a Super Bowl, but to win some games and get you where you need to go, I give Davis Mills a solid starter's thumbs up. Do you give him a solid starter, or do you think he could improve, or do you think, nah, he just stinks?
No, I think you're right. I think solid starter. I think he's a high ceiling guy high floor guy. I don't think his ceiling's that big. I think this is probably about what you're going to get. But a lot of teams would love to have a quarterback like this. He helped a Texans team that's really not that good tie against a Colts team that's okay to a little bit above average. I'd put him at. You know, you got to point a lot of the fingers at him that he was able to do that. So yeah, solid starter.
I saw him give OJ Howard 2 touchdowns. OJ Howard, we were waiting for it. He's your version of Irv Smith. We've been waiting for OJ Howard to break out for years. He got 2 touchdowns. I think that's like the most he's ever got. I don't even know. I didn't even look up OJ Howard's touchdown stats, but OJ Howard got 2 touchdowns. And for whatever reason, Brandon Cooks just won't go away. Him and Davis Mills have like a weird, fun connection. But this is another quarterback, Anthony, that I'm going to talk to you about. We actually talked about him earlier. He's an Indianapolis Colts scrap. Super Bowl champion, mind you, Anthony. He did win a Super Bowl, whether you want to admit it or not. He did. Super Bowl champion Carson Wentz of the Commanders. Anthony, is Carson Wentz a solid starter or not?
Nah. I sold his stock. I think he was still in the Eagles. I already sold my stock. I guess they gave up more too. They gave up way more than they should have to get Carson Wentz. Like that's a guy who could have potentially got cut. I feel like if the Commanders didn't trade for him. Yeah, a big nah. It's only week 1. The season's young. He's had a lot of health concerns too of staying healthy. Combined out with his play that's just okay at best. Yeah, I'd avoid this man.
Wow, not high on Carson Wentz. And I will say this, man. Anthony, I'm a little bit of a Trubisky-holic. I believe in Trubisky. I'm one of those people where I'm in and I'm out. I can't quit on Trubisky. There's that something about that athleticism. Call me a Wentz-aholic too, Anthony. I am still gonna call him a solid starter. I know he had a bad look. I'm gonna say this. Washington is a much more talented offensive team than the Colts were. The Colts, everyone's gonna say, Chase, what about Jonathan Taylor? That's it. Everything else he was throwing to, Mo Alley Cox, Michael Pittman was still a raw product. I look at the the Commanders, and I look at that offense. Curtis Samuel, a guy that is a versatile running back, receiver, H-back type player. You got Jahan Dotson, my receiver crush. I love Jahan Dotson. I've been telling people this guy, like when Commanders fans were upset, they're like, "We drafted Jahan." I'm like, "No, you should be happy you drafted Jahan Dotson. This guy is a stud." And then scary Terry. The Commanders played the Chargers last year. Terry McLaurin, week 1, made this incredible catch against Casey Hayward, who has been one of the most solid corners in the NFL in the last few years. About maybe 3 years ago, he was one of the top 10 corners in the league. But Scary Terry did his thing, man. And that's the thing I want to say, man. These guys right here, these receivers, they're going to make Carson Wentz better. They're going to make Carson Wentz a better player. And then Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson, when he comes back, and a bunch of other running, I'm sorry, Carson Wentz is a solid starter because this is a good team around him. So you may be out on Wentz, but I'm a Wentz-aholic, Anthony. I'm going to be drinking that Wentz. I'm going to be that one guy that orders the one beer that no one sells anymore. I'm buying the Wentz. I'm buying the Wentz stock. Get me. I'm back in, Anthony. I'm back in. Maybe I'll change my mind in the later in the season, but I'm back in. You could stay out. You lost your pass to Wentz Island, okay? But you know what, Anthony? The last guy today, I had to put him on this list. He gets a little bit of flack. He's a fun quarterback. He doesn't have his commercials anymore. He got kicked out of his house. He always has a chip on his shoulder. But Baker Mayfield, Anthony, the former number 1 overall pick, current Carolina Panthers quarterback, solid starter or nah?
I will say solid starter. This is not a man I'd want as my quarterback. I feel much better with Kirk Cousins. But he played well. He did his job. He did his job Sunday. They almost pulled it off, but he didn't. He almost beat his former team. Number 1 pick, sure. I'll say solid starter. I think we've seen the best of Baker Mayfield. It's just how long can this Baker Mayfield last? I think he can last a little bit. I think he probably have a few seasons of this Baker Mayfield, and then he's probably a backup till who knows how long. But for now, yeah, solid starter.
This is a hard one for me because, I'm not a Baker-holic. I'm a Trubisky-holic. I'm a Wentz-aholic. That makes more sense. Baker Mayfield, it's either he's really great or he's really bad. But there's games where I've seen a Baker where I feel like he's one of those quarterbacks that I think loves chaotic games. He plays well in those chaotic games. And I know people are going to say, Chase, you keep bringing up the Chargers. They're my team. I played against Baker Mayfield. I know what this guy can do. The Chargers and the Browns had like a shootout, and Baker looked dang good in that shootout. And I feel like the guy had a pretty bad shoulder injury. I felt he looked much more healthier against the Panthers. Like I said, not the stat line was impressive or anything, but I felt he looked a lot healthier on the Panthers than he did last year. I know everyone's going to say, Chase, well, he couldn't find ways to get Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, David Njoku. Yeah, that's fine. I also think Kevin Stefanski is one of the more overrated coaches in the league. I know Browns fans are going to say, oh, Chase, how dare you say that? Stop. Okay. Look, I'm just saying, I just find him a little bit overrated as a head coach in the National Football League. I feel like he should be the one that should get the most out of the talent, not always blame it on the player. But, Baker Mayfield, I believe, is a solid starter in the NFL. I think a lot of teams that like crap on him, he kind of reminds me of a lesser Phillip Rivers. Maybe that's why I like Baker. Phillip Rivers got a lot of hate. Everyone was like, Phil, he just talks too much. He has all attitude. I don't like Phil Rivers. But Baker Mayfield's kind of like that, where it's like you hate him when he's on the other team because he's so obnoxious, but then when he's on your squad, you appreciate it you love Baker Mayfield. You say, ah, man, I'm all in on Mr. Baker Mayfield. So I say he's a solid starter. You agree with me. So the only one we both agreed on was we didn't agree on was Carson Wentz. But
Yep.
like I said, you can give up on Carson Wentz. I'm not going to give up on the Wentz because I'm a Wentzaholic. Carrot Hardo says in the chat, Dak Prescott keeps getting injured. That's what happens when they put a very young people in the NFL without much experience. I mean, Dak came into the NFL, what, at 22?
Yeah. 6
Yeah.
years ago? No, he would have been like 23, 24.
Yeah. I liked him at Mississippi State. He was a very fun Heisman finalist candidate. So, anyways, Anthony, is there anything else you want to talk about before we sign off? Is there something burning, fantasy, underrated, anything else you want to talk about before we sign off?
You know, I'm looking forward to the Viking season. I think, you know, they play the Eagles now on Monday night. That's the two teams we've talked about, Super Bowl favorites, question mark. I think we are going to answer a question on one of those teams. Not that starting 1-1 is the end of the season, but starting 2-0 is a pretty good way to be a Super Bowl contender.
Well, especially against the teams you're playing against. I mean, that competition is not an easy lineup.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, as a Vikings fan, you know, going through the schedule before the start of the season, even though they did beat the Packers in Green Bay a couple years ago, they've been splitting the series. Even under Mike Zimmer, you know, he was, I believe, 7-6-1 was his record. He had one less win than what Green Bay did over the time. So they split for the most part. So hopefully Kevin O'Connell changes that, but we'll see. I think they'll beat the Eagles, and if that's the case, 2-0. This is already their first time with a winning record in a while for Minnesota. So I'm feeling good about them. With the Broncos, though, definitely a little bit worried with how that went. I wasn't
Nathaniel Hackett was terrible.
I wasn't a fan of his hiring. You know, that's not who I would have hired. But you know, season's young. Russell Wilson. I've always liked Russell Wilson. With Russell Wilson, I can't count out the Broncos just yet.
I will say I was very happy with what I saw from Justin Fields. I was impressed. This looked like the Justin Fields that we saw out of college that everyone hyped up about and said, "Oh, this is what Justin Fields can do for you as a quarterback." Very happy with what I saw from Justin Fields on Sunday, and also, you know, as a Herbert fan, it was nice seeing Joe Burrow get beat up a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, Anthony. Here's a guy in Joe Burrow. Everyone was coming in the season saying Super Bowl MVP guy type of guy, maybe a dark horse. And Anthony, he didn't really show it there. He didn't look like himself in that game. So Chris Collinsworth came in. He let us know how he did not like Joe Burrow. But it was fun as a, you know, I don't hate Joe Burrow, but you know, in the Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow debate, it's always nice when Jay Herbo goes 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and Joe Burrow goes 2 for 4 and stuff like that. So always nice to see that. Anthony, where can the great people find you?
Well, I am still on Twitter at Effie and Anthony. I do like to tweet about the NFL, especially my Vikings. I still have my YouTube. I haven't uploaded that in a while, but it is Fairview Entertainment Network. Who knows? You know, last year with Mike Zimmer, he gave me a lot of reasons to be mad, and making a YouTube video was a great way to vent about it. Hopefully, Kevin O'Connell can be the 180 of Mike Zimmer and give me a reason to make a happy video talking about how happy I am about how the Vikings are doing.
And guys, you guys can follow me on Twitter at ChaseAuber68. If you guys like this video where you're watching it live or via the playback, just hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You're going to get more NFL, more professional wrestling content on this channel. Once again, there will be timestamps in the description box so you guys can see where we talked about everything. And I will be trying to piece up the clips and upload them on YouTube so you guys can just see our individual segments. The Spotify link will be there in the description. Check me out on Heel Stevens' channel every Friday now, where we do the Around the Point podcast. It's going to be fun because during football season, I normally check out of professional wrestling. So it'd be fun just hearing my reactions to, wait, what's going on in wrestling type of news? Because I really don't follow it that much, even though I will try to upload some wrestling content here on the channel. And then on Thursday, if you guys like watching me and you guys said, hey, I like this guy's voice, I want to see how this guy reacts to the Chargers versus Chiefs, True Heel Heat Sports is doing a Chargers versus Chiefs watch along on the debut Amazon. Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels. That's going to be terrible. But True Heel Heat Sports is going to be doing a watch along for the Chargers versus the Chiefs. I'll be there, and I'll let you guys know I'm an emotional fan. I get into this. I don't like showing my emotions on camera. You know, a lot of you guys see my videos. You know, I freaked out a couple times on this channel, but you guys know I'm a very stoic human being. Well, if you guys want to see Chase Oliver unstoic, just watch this. Just watch Thursday night because you're going to see the fan side of me come out. But thank you guys so much. Looking to do this every Tuesday with my boy Anthony if time permits it. And then the other NFL videos that I'm looking to do on the channel, especially live stream wise, is every Saturday. Go back, look at the Thursday night game, and as well predict all the games that are going to be happening Sunday and Monday night. And if Anthony's free on a Saturday, maybe he'll jump on. Maybe I'll get someone else to jump on. Maybe it'll just be my beautiful face. Who knows? But if you guys are watching this live, watching this via playback, watching this via Spotify, we appreciate you guys. Oh, I don't know. Listen to this via Spotify. Who cares? You guys know the drill. But we appreciate you guys so much for tuning in, listening to two schmoes talk about professional football. I just almost said the other word that I normally talk about on this channel. Thank you guys so much. Please take care of yourselves. Have yourself a good week. And remember, guys, football is only 17 weeks left. Have a good one.